Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a semi-cooperative game that basically rips off the Alien franchise. We're going to be talking about Nemesis, and in this game you'll be wandering around a ship trying to fulfill secret objectives before the ship blows up or someone tries to kill you. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like. We'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Nemesis is still worth playing 3 years after it's first released in 2018. So remember, if you're newer, please consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button, leave a comment, all that bullshit. See ya after this. Bollocks. So, Nemesis, how'd you play this game? So Nemesis is a game for 1 to 5 players. There's a solo mode, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the semi-cooperative experience for this one. This game is split into 2 phases. You've got the players phase and then you've got the event phase, right? First of all, though, you're going to set the board out in the middle of the table. You're going to stick some of the room tiles face down on the board. They're split into room 1 and room 2. And then you'll place exploration markers on each of the rooms, right? The reason you do this is because you just woken up from hypersleep and you can't remember the layout of the ship, right? So everyone's going to draft a different type of character. You might draft the captain, you might draft the engineer, you might draft the scientist, you might draft the scout. There's 6 different characters that you can choose from in this game, and they've each got an action deck with some cards that are unique to their own skills, right? You'll also get a starting item, which is usually a weapon, and you'll stick it in one of the 2 hand slots that you have got. These are reserved for heavy items that are denoted by the heavy items icon, and then you'll also get a couple of quest items that you can unlock if you do a relatively simple action, right? So the way this game works is you'll be spending action cards from your hand of 5 cards to take different actions. You'll be able to take actions that are on the action cards that you've got, right? You'll be able to take item actions, and there's room actions as well. You'll see that on the little crate icon you've got a number, and that tells you how many cards you have to discard in order to take that action. So if you want to move, you're going to discard 1 action. On the action cards, you're going to have to discard the card you want to use plus the amount of cards that it tells you on the card you're discarding, if that makes sense, yeah? So in order to win this game, you have to survive the ship, right? It might blow up, or you might get killed by aliens, or maybe even another player might sort of trap you in a room full of fire or something, right? But you have to survive first and foremost. And then you'll also have to fulfill one of your 2 objectives, right? You'll get a corporate objective, and then you'll get a personal objective. Once the first alien appears on the board, you have to choose between the red pill and the blue pill, right, so to speak, yeah? And then that will be your sole focus of the game, yeah? So you're going to have to survive, and you're going to have to fulfill your objective. So some of the actions that you could take in this game: you can move, you can discard 1 card to move. All the basic actions take 1 card apart from careful movement, which takes 2, but we'll talk about careful movement in a bit. You'll move to an adjacent room via a corridor, and then you'll flip over the room, and then you'll flip over the exploration token. The exploration token might tell you to put a fire token in there, or malfunction token. It might mean you're going to get covered in slime, right? But you'll do what the exploration token says, and then you'll look at the number on the exploration token. This will tell you how many times you can search in that room, and you'll orient the tile according to that number, right? You'll also have to do a noise roll. You'll take the noise die and you'll roll it, and then you'll put a noise token in the corridor that corresponds to that number. If there's ever more than 1 noise token in a room, you'll have to have an encounter. If you roll across, nothing happens unless you're covered in slime, in which case you'll do a danger action. If you ever have to do a danger action, then you'll move all of the aliens that are adjacent to you into your room, and if there's no aliens, then you'll put a noise marker in each corridor that hasn't got a noise marker. Fuck's sake. So if you want to do careful movement, you'll have to spend 2 cards, but this means that you get to choose where you place a noise marker as opposed to rolling the die, right? Nice and easy peasy simple. So you can also shoot and do a melee action, but we'll talk about that when we talk about combat, right? So hold your horses, we'll get there eventually. Yeah, you can pick up a heavy object. That is any object that has the little shopping bag symbol, yeah, or it might mean that you pick up an egg or a body of some kind and you'll put it in one of your hand slots. You can trade with any other players in your location. That means you can trade items or objects. You'll just give them to people and they'll just say thank you very much. And you can craft an item as well. What you do, you look at your player sheet, you see you've got 2 different icons here. You'll discard those 2 cards with those icons on, and then you'll look through the crafting deck, and then you'll take that card, whether it's a Molotov cocktail or maybe some ketamine or something like magic mushrooms or something. Pretty sure I saw them in the game. So like I said, if you do a noise roll and there's ever more than one noise token in a corridor, you'll have to have an encounter, and this is where aliens may appear. You'll delve into the alien bag and you'll pull out a token, and that type of alien will spawn. You've got larvae, you've got creepers, you have got adults, you've got breeders, and then you've got the queen, right? So you'll take the miniature and you'll put it on your space, and you'll have to have a look to see whether or not they do a surprise attack and whether or not you have to go downtown and buy some brain tracers. So what you'll do, you'll flip over an intruder attack card and you'll look at the little number in the corner, right? And then you'll look at how many cards you've got in your hand, and if you've got equal to or more than that number, the alien will not do a surprise attack, and if you've got less, they will give you a righteous old slap. So it's in your interest to hold back on the cards if you're feeling like you're bricking it a little bit, yeah? So once everybody has taken all their actions, or they can't take any more actions, then everyone will have passed, and then you move on to the event phase, right? First thing you'll do is you'll move the little status marker down 1 on the time track. If you move it past the blue line, then all the escape pods will unlock. You need them to be unlocked if you want to escape to Earth. Then all intruders will attack. They will try and bite your balls off. Any character that is in a room with an alien will be considered to be in combat. And what you'll do, you'll draw an alien attack card, and if the symbol for the monster that is in your room is on the card, then you will resolve the attack card. During the player phase, you'll also be able to take the shoot or melee action. You'll choose one of your weapons, you'll discard one of the ammo, and then you will roll the combat die. If it's blank, you miss. Simple as that, isn't it? You're a crap shot. If you roll the creeper symbol and you're fighting a larva or creeper, you do 1 damage. If you roll the adult symbol and you're fighting a larva, creeper or an adult, you do 1 damage. If you roll the target icons, you'll do 1 or 2 damage. But if you're doing a melee attack, it's exactly the same. But if you roll 2 damage, you'll only do 1 damage, right? So don't get your hands dirty. Similarly, if you are using a melee attack, you'll have to take a contamination card, and there's a chance that at the end of the game, if you're infected, then you will lose the game, right? So don't accumulate too many of these contamination cards. So if you do damage, you'll draw a intruder attack card and you look at the number, and if the amount of damage that's on the card is less than the amount of damage tokens that are on the alien, then it will die and you'll take it off the board, right? If it's a queen or a breeder, then you'll have to take 2 and you'll add them together, so they are hard as fuck. So next thing, you'll check for fire damage. If an alien is in a room with fire damage, you'll take 1 wound, and then you'll resolve the event card. You will look at the effect of the event card and you'll do what it says. These are always really bad. Then you will do the intruder development. You'll take a token out of the bag and then you'll do what it says. It might mean that if you draw an adult token, then you'll have to all do a noise roll in turn order. So you'll keep taking actions, you'll keep exploring rooms. Different rooms will have different effects, right? You might want to initiate the self-destruct mechanism of the ship, in which case you'll have to find and activate the generator. If you do this, you'll start the self-destruct mechanism, and when it gets halfway, all the escape pods will open and you won't be able to turn off the self-destruct mechanism at all, right? So just be very careful if you see somebody messing with this. This probably means that they're trying to kill you. There's loads and loads of other rooms. If you want to get rid of slime, you can go to the shower room and wash it off. Just watch out for any aliens lurking down the bog. There's the fire control system, which allows you to put out fires. There is the comms room that allows you to send a signal to Earth. This might be useful for your objectives, right? There's rooms where you can open and close doors, where you can trap other players in rooms of fire if you're trying to kill them. And the game will end in one of several ways. If the ship blows up, right? If the self-destruct mechanism gets to the end of the track. If you get to the end of round 15, the ship will jump and you have to be careful that the coordinates in the cockpit are set to Earth. There's an action you can use in the cockpit where you can flip over the coordinates and check to see where it's going. It might be going to Mars for all you know. And there's another action where you can change the coordinates, yeah? So if somebody starts messing with that, then you've got to be very careful that they aren't a Martian sympathizer that is trying to get you killed, yeah? If you have to place a malfunction token in a room and there's none left, then the ship will blow up. And similarly, if you're trying to place a fire token in a room and there's none left, then the ship will also blow up. So once the game has ended, you'll have to do a little bit of a victory check to see if you've won the game. You'll have to check that 2 of the 3 engines are in working order, right? You can go to the engine room and you can mess around with this. You can repair it or break it with an action card or an item card. You'll have to do the coordinates check like we showed before. If you're in the hibernatorium, you've hibernated and you're trying to get to Earth and it's set for Venus, then you are in deep shit, right? You have to do a contamination check. So all those contamination cards that you accumulated throughout the game, you'll have to go through each one, stick them in the scanner, and if you see infected on there, you have to shuffle all of your cards together from your discard pile, from your hand and all that, to draw 4 cards, and if one of those cards is a contamination card, whether it's infected or not, you will lose the game. You'll be dead, yeah. And then finally, you have to check your objectives. If you have managed to kill player number 3, or you have maybe got one of the eggs and sent a signal and also evacuated in the escape pod, then you'll win the game. So you have to make sure that you've done everything up to this point and completed your objectives. If not, then you are screwed. So once you've done all that, once you've fulfilled all of these victory conditions, if you have survived and you've done all that, then you will be the winner of Nemesis. So what do we like about Nemesis? So the first thing that we really like about this game is the really good semi-cooperative nature of this game. The objectives are really quite balanced and they do come into conflict with each other in quite a logical way. The fact that these are split into corporate and personal objectives means that there's a quite decent variation of objectives to take care of. For instance, you might end up with the aliens on a spaceship. You have to send a signal and the nest must be destroyed. The nest contains a load of eggs. It's a very dangerous place to go there, but if you can destroy all of the eggs in the nest, then you will be able to fulfill this objective, yeah? Just watch out that there's no queens lurking around that might give you a bit of a beating. You might take the right moment to strike. This says that player 1's character cannot survive. This is a mission where you'll have to try and murder your best mate, or your character is the only survivor, so everybody else must die, right? So yeah, there's a decent blend of objective cards for you to fulfill, and they play off against each other in quite an interesting way. So the second thing that we really like about Nemesis is that the card play mechanism is really interesting. The fact that you've got to discard action cards from your hand to take other actions means that there is always going to be an interesting choice in what you want to do. You're going to have to choose really wisely because a lot of the actions on the cards that you've got to discard are very useful, like the search action, or maybe activating a room without actually having to spend the cards, right? But in order to do the more powerful actions like pick up items and use the room tiles for maybe sending the signal or trying to get rid of the slime, you're gonna have to spend a lot of cards, yeah? There's a really interesting choice in whether or not you keep the cards back in your hand to use as you see fit, and also the fact that you might be the victim of a surprise attack. So you're going to have to keep those cards back in your hand, but you're going to need to spend them as well in order to fight off beasties, to reload your weapons and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, card play mechanism is one of the highlights of this game, and it constantly keeps you engaged right up until the end. So the final thing that we really like about Nemesis is this game tells some fucking good stories, doesn't it? Yeah, whenever you play this game, you'll always look back and think, well, I did this at this moment and so did this at this moment. They were trying to hunt me down throughout the ship. I managed to get the egg boss killing the queen. Somebody ended up changing the coordinates, so we ended up on bloody Venus, right? So yeah, the way that this game crafts some wonderful stories, keeps you engaged all the time you're playing a game, right? It's one of the best games for that. It's one of the best thematic games that we've played in a very long time, yeah. Add to that the quality of the components, the miniatures are absolutely fantastic. The artwork on the player boards and on the cards is pretty good. So it all comes together, or most of it comes together, in a complete thematic package. So what don't we like about Nemesis? So the first thing that we don't like about this is the blue whale in the room, right? It's the player elimination. Why? Why the fuck did they put this in here? This destroyed the game for me. I mean, we played this yesterday and my mum was playing it and she went out really early and she was just sat there for like 2.5 hours doing absolutely diddly squat. We organised this like a week in advance. Everyone was looking forward to this game because of the theme and the way the game tells stories like we talked about earlier. But when we actually got down and dirty, things went badly wrong and my mum was sat out for ages. Similarly, I managed to escape in one of the pods and I spent the last 45 minutes of the game just sat there doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, unforgivable, unacceptable. This destroys the game, and all the positives that we've talked about previously are just blown away with the fact that you can be playing this game and just through no fault of your own, just be jettisoned out into the middle of space. Yeah, I know I can hear all these people going, yeah, but somebody can take control of the aliens. Fuck that. Why would I want to be a kingmaker, right? Oh yeah, but if you learn to play the game and you learn to navigate all the rooms and that, you can mitigate. You can't mitigate nothing. If you're out, you are out. And that is the end of that, right? It's not acceptable in this day and age. Player elimination sucks. So the second thing that we don't like about Nemesis is this game is too bloody random. There's a random thing for everything, right? There's a random room placement. There's random exploration tokens. There are random die rolls for damage. There's random die rolls for noise. There's a random card draw for the damage that you're going to do to the alien, whether or not you're going to kill it or not, right? It's too bloody random, and that's what kills you. The fact is that you can't mitigate the randomness. You might just be trundling along, you roll bad for noise, a queen appears out the bag, you're drawn randomly, and then you get your ass handed to you because you drew some shit cards at the alien attack deck. Yeah, so these two things, player elimination and the random nature of the game, come together to make this game practically unplayable for me. I mean, it's an absolute crime that the designer didn't find a way to allow you to stay in the game, like, I don't know, respawn or something. I don't know what they could have done. It makes the game unplayable. So the final thing that we don't like about Nemesis, and this is sort of like a bit of a minor nitpick, is that the board looks complete and utter dog shit, doesn't it? It's just like this black piece of paper with some corridors etched onto it, and it's in stark contrast to the magnificent artwork on the player boards and on the cards and the superb quality of the miniatures. Yeah, I just look at the board and it just looks like someone's been sick on a blackboard. It just doesn't make any sense that you've got all the wonderful components on that side and then they're just dumped onto a really lackluster looking board. So to summarise, is Nemesis worth your time and bother today and in the future? I'm going to say no. This isn't worth the hassle. This is like a mix of Zombicide and Xia Legends of a Drift system with sort of elements of Fury Dracula bunged in, and to be honest with you, I would much rather play those games than this. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy playing this game, but the risk of being thrown out of your own house through no fault of your own, through the random bullshit that this game throws at you, is absolutely unforgivable. I'm absolutely in shock that this sort of thing exists today. Looking at my mum's face the other day when we were playing this, and she just looked completely dejected. There's no place for that sort of feeling in games. It's just not fun, right? If there was a way to stay in the game, maybe have something to your detriment that you could maybe fix through skill, good planning or something, fine. But the fact that you've got too much randomness coupled with player elimination means that this game is not something I'm going to risk trying to play with other people. I'm going to stick with the solo game because then it's down to me. If I go out, it doesn't matter because I can just set it up and go again, but I don't want to play this multiplayer ever again, right? So with that in mind, it pains me to say that I cannot recommend Nemesis. I just can't recommend it. It's just not worth paying 100 odd quid for the prospect of not being able to play the game, right? So there you go, that's Nemesis. Remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel, leave a comment in that section down below, hit the like button. Shit. See ya next time.